Hello, everyone. In our last video on discourse on the method, we journeyed with Descartes through radical doubt to discover the single, certain truth. I think, therefore I am, the thinking self, the cogito. But in this world, there are countless other selves. So, what happens when that isolated self encounters another self? The man who answered this question, the most critical question left by Descartes, head-on was the English philosopher Thomas Hobbes. He lived in the 17th century, a time of chaos when his country was torn apart by civil war. He looked at human nature with a cold, steady gaze and reached a terrifying conclusion. If we were to unleash ourselves into a world without rules, what awaits us is a hellish state of war. And to escape that hell, we voluntarily create a giant monster named Leviathan. The state of nature, the war of all against all. Hobbes begins with a thought experiment. What if the state and laws did not exist at all? He called this primitive condition the state of nature. Aristotle believed that man is by nature a political, social animal, trusting in human cooperation. But Hobbes flatly denies this. According to him, the essence of humanity is that man is a wolf to man, homo homini lupus. Why? Because in the state of nature, human beings are fundamentally equal. By equal, it does not mean something wonderful. He means a terrifying equality where anyone has the capacity to kill anyone else. Even the strongest person can be killed in their sleep or by a confederacy of others. That is why humans constantly suspect and fear one another. According to Hobbes, in this world of fear, there are three main causes of quarrel. First, competition, to gain control of limited resources. Second, diffidence, distrust to strike first and attack in order to defend oneself before being killed. Third, glory, to show off one's power and ensure one is not undervalued by others. As a result, the state of nature descends into a perpetual state of war, a war of every man against every man. There is no justice or injustice, no right or wrong. There is only violence and the fear of death. Think about the full implications of this. In such a state, there is no place for industry, because the fruit thereof is uncertain. There is no culture, no navigation, no commodious building, no arts, no letters, no society. Civilization itself is impossible because everyone is paralyzed by the constant danger of violent death. Hobbes famously described human life in this state as solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. Escape from fear, the social contract. How can human beings escape this hellish state of nature? Hobbes answers that humans possess two tools. One is the passion of fear of death. The other is reason, which can calculate how to live in peace. This is the same reason that Descartes discovered. Reason commands us to seek peace, and it derives the most rational method to achieve that peace. That method is to lay down one's right to all things. In the state of nature, everyone has a right of nature, the liberty to do anything to preserve one's own life. But as long as everyone exercises this right, the war will never end. So, reason commands, if others are willing to do the same, you should lay down this right, and be contented with so much liberty against other men as you would allow other men against yourself. This is the birth of the social contract, the most important idea in modern philosophy. It is a rational promise. I will not attack you on the condition that you do not attack me. The birth of the monster, Leviathan. However, a mere promise is not enough, because humans are creatures who will readily break promises once the immediate fear is gone. Covenants, without the sword, are but words. Therefore, a common power is needed to force everyone to keep this contract. That power must be so massive, so absolute, that everyone fears it, knowing that if I disobey, I will be destroyed. So, People agree to a contract to mutually transfer all their power and strength to one man, or upon one assembly of men. I authorize and give up my right of governing myself to this man, or to this assembly of men, on this condition, that thou give up thy right to him, and authorize all his actions in like manner. This giant power, created by bundling the strength of all individuals, is born. Hobbes named it after the sea monster mentioned in the Old Testament, Leviathan. Look at the famous frontispiece of Leviathan. A giant king is depicted, but his body is composed of countless tiny people. He holds a sword, military power, in his right hand, and a crosier, religious authority, in his left, ruling over everything on this earth. This is the true nature of the state, commonwealth. This monster is a mortal god, created by each of us surrendering our own rights. Absolute sovereignty, the price of peace. The most critical point in Hobbes' philosophy is that this Leviathan, this sovereign, must be absolute. Why? Because if power were divided, for example, if the king and parliament were fighting, it would mean a return to the state of nature, that is, civil war. The sovereign is created by the contract with the people, but the sovereign himself has not made any contract with the people. He is the result of the contract, an external existence that enforces it. Hobbes uses a specific term for this, authorization. By entering the contract, you acknowledge that every action the sovereign takes is, in fact, your action. Therefore, if you complain about the sovereign's oppression, you are logically contradicting yourself. It is as if you were complaining about something you are doing to yourself. You are the author of your own punishment. Therefore, the people do not have the right to criticize the sovereign or drag him down. The laws made by the sovereign are justice, and obeying them is good. Even if the sovereign rules tyrannically, the people must endure it. Why? Because even the worst tyranny is far better than the chaos of the war of all against all. This was the incredibly heavy price that Hobbes presented for peace. Hobbes' Leviathan had a decisive influence on subsequent political philosophy. He was the first to explain state power, which until then had been considered given by God, divine right, using the human-centric logic of a rational contract among individuals. Starting from the I that Descartes found, he logically constructed a massive system called the state. His philosophy throws a sharp question at us even today. How much freedom are we prepared to surrender to the Leviathan for the sake of safety and order? And when this monster we created turns its fangs against us, what are we to do? What are you trading your freedom for right now? Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next video.